Hello everyone, this is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting video. In this video I'm going to be playing some AI Dungeon 2. I hope you guys are excited. This is going to be a 2-hour special that was sponsored by King of Craxels, who paid me $14 on Cash App. Shout out to King of Craxels on Discord. Without further ado, let's hop right into today's adventure. It's like midnight. It's like 12:17 a.m. for me. I'm going to start the 2-hour timer, and the 2-hour timer has begun. I've already started recording, so let's start. You are Jet Starlight. By the way, this is a non-canon Jet Starlight adventure. You are Jet Starlight. You are a god who has forgotten who you are and what powers you possess. You have woken up in an unfamiliar world, equipped with a talking, sentient, shape-shifting weapon named Ofda. You and Ofda feel an interdimensional bond to each other and immediately become friends. You and Ofda are encountered by a being known as Hatred Incarnate. Hatred Incarnate is a 6-foot-tall being who is strong enough to punch through titanium. Hatred Incarnate also possesses the ability to steal the powers of others. You imprisoned me inside of you, but now I'm free and here for revenge. Hatred Incarnate screams at you. What are you talking about? I don't remember you. I honestly don't remember anything, you say, confused. I don't know what's worse, you imprisoning me or you forgetting what you've done. When I'm through with you, your memories will forever be haunted by my wrath, proclaims Hatred Incarnate as he stomps forward towards you. The rest was then filled in by the AI. Ofda morphs into a double-barreled shotgun and you grab her, aiming her at Hatred Incarnate. Stop right there or I'll blow your brains out, you threaten. You flick Ofda's safety off and pull the trigger. So, right away, the AI has made Ofda a girl in this continuity. Sure, I mean, this is a non-canon Jet Starlight adventure, so it's not really connected to anything else. So sure, Ofda's a girl in this version. And a shotgun now. Da-na-na-na. Okay, so I pulled the trigger on the shotgun at Hatred. Did it kill Hatred? I'm just going to hit enter and just see what happens. Let's see. You flick Ofda's safety off and pull the trigger. Nothing happens. You pull the trigger again, only to realize that Hatred Incarnate has disabled your weapon. What? Ruined, you say with an annoyance as you toss Ofda aside. What? You turn to run away, but Hatred Incarnate is too quick. Hold on a second. I'm not gonna throw Ofda aside. I have an instant friendship with Ofda, an interdimensional bond. We're like close. There's no reason for me to throw him away. I'm going to ask Ofda, what's wrong? What has Hatred done to you? Well, what has Hatred Incarnate done to you? The character Hatred Incarnate was originally named Hatred, but in this I'm calling him Hatred Incarnate because having characters named after real words I think is confusing for the AI. Okay, so Ofda's voice. Since Ofda's a girl, I'll do a voice like this. I can't fight him. He's taken away my abilities. I can't do anything except talk. Okay, so Hatred started by stealing Ofda's powers. So, Ofda explains in a worried tone. Yeah, I guess it makes sense to steal the powers of my sentient shape-shifting weapon. Wait, so does that mean that Hatred can turn into sentient shape-shifting weapons now? That's kind of crazy. You think to yourself, if Hatred Incarnate has stolen Ofda's powers, that means that Hatred Incarnate can now transform into weapons. Excuse me. Hatred Incarnate mentioned a moment ago that I had somehow imprisoned him inside of myself at some point. Well, I don't remember ever doing that. Maybe I could do it again. Let's see. You concentrate and try to... Yeah, like, I don't know. You concentrate and focus on imprisoning Hatred Incarnate inside of your body. You aren't sure if this will work. And you don't really know what you're doing. But based on what Hatred Incarnate said, you believe that it should be possible to imprison him inside of you. Yeah, so that's my goal. You suddenly feel a surge of energy and realize that you were successful in imprisoning Hatred Incarnate in your body once again. Yes, I did it, you exclaim. And then Ofda has a female voice. Did what? Ofda asks as her weapon form melts back into her liquid state. I'm going to explain to Ofda. So, Hatred Incarnate, when he showed up, mentioned that he wanted revenge for being imprisoned inside of me. Essentially, all I had to do, once I learned that apparently I can imprison people inside of my body, was concentrate on doing so. Suddenly, I felt a surge of energy. And the next thing I knew, I had absorbed Hatred Incarnate. Yeah. So that worked out well. It seems like Hatred Incarnate should have stolen my powers rather than stealing Ofda's powers. Interesting. But what do we know now that you have me and myself inside of you? Ofda asks. I'm sorry, Ofda's question doesn't make any sense, so I'm going to hit retry. Let's see. You can imprison others inside of your body? Why didn't you say so before? If we had known that, we could have imprisoned the royal army. The royal army? So I think Ofda's about to spill some lore stuff. Ask Ofda. Let's see. You look at Ofda with a confused expression on your face. You think to yourself, royal army? What royal army? You still don't remember anything about your past. And the name Royal Army isn't ringing any bells. You ask Ofda, what royal army are you talking about? You and Ofda are located in the northern part of the continent. It consists mostly of barren tundra, though there are some forests and other areas that you would consider interesting. Beautiful sceneries and fertile lands. Okay. That doesn't really have anything to do with what I just asked. I'm gonna hit enter. If it gives me another weird response, I'll just go back and retry. Do 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 do. So I'm just gonna hit undo on both things. Um, it seems like it's doing world building stuff, which is fine, but I just wanted to hear Ofda's answer to my question. Okay. There is a road. Along this road are the trees and plants of the area. Everything looks as normal as one would expect. In the distance, one can make out several human figures. I want to just hear Ofda's answer to my question, so I'm going to hit retry again. Your memories are still gone, and you're not sure if the name Ofda means anything to you. I remember who Ofda is. What? I mean, no, it's not that I remember who Ofda is, but Ofda and I are like instant friends. It doesn't have anything to do with my memory of like Ofda. You see the world through your eyes. You are standing next to a small building in a rundown town. To the left, you use a metal door with peeling yellow paint and a sign that reads, toilets. What? No, just have Ofda answer the question. Okay, here we go. Ofda explains that there was a time long ago when the world wasn't under the rule of a monarchy. Instead, the world was run by a group of people elected to positions of power by the people. Okay. So, if I understand what Ofda's saying, so I'm going to think about what Ofda said for a moment. You then ask Ofda, so are you saying that you want the world to return to a democracy? And that you want me to use my powers to imprison a royal army inside of my body in order to take down the monarchy? It seems like that's where Ofda's train of thought might be going. So I guess it's time for us to find out. Ofda explains that she wants the world to be a better place, a world where people aren't forced to do things they don't want to do, a world where robots aren't forced to obey the commands of people. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to smile and say to Ofda, I want that too. I guess I'm going to then ask Ofda, how can we make the world a better place? Yeah, so does Ofda have like a plan that could give more direction to the story and give me like a purpose to achieve? Because if your character's an amnesiac, there's not really much that you can like do. You gotta like find like a new thing to put yourself on. Ofda answers that by saying people should be free and not have to take orders from anyone. She smiles and floats over to you. She tells you that you have nothing to lose and she can't force you to help her, but she asks for your help in making the world a better place. Okay, so I'm going to say to Ofda, I can help you. What would you like me to do? Considering the fact that you don't remember anything about your past, you are essentially a clean slate. You feel like you need direction in order to figure out what to do with the rest of your life. You believe that helping Ofda, who is currently your only friend in this unfamiliar world, is your best bet for establishing solid goals for your future. Ofta is glad to hear you say that, but a little surprised. She assumed you would be reluctant to get involved in the world's problems. Let's see. So I'm going to assure Ofta. I know nothing about this world, or about myself. I need some form of goal or purpose in order to continue moving forward through life. You are the only friend I have in this strange new world. So for now, my purpose in life is to help you. Ofta smiles and tells you that she feels the same way. She then says that your first task is to free the royal army from your body. I haven't imprisoned them inside of my body. Ofta earlier was saying you could have imprisoned them in your body, kind of thing. Ofta smiles. She is glad to hear that you want to help her, because she was a little worried that you wouldn't want to get involved. Well, that's pretty much the same thing that they said a second ago, so I'm going to retry that. Ofta smiles warmly and says, "Thank you." Ofta then floats upward and says, "Now we need to figure out how to overthrow the royal family of this world." You think about what she said for a moment. How will we do it? I'm going to get rid of the, how will we do it part. Okay? And I'm just going to ask Ofta, does the royal family of this world possess any powers or special weapons? If I can absorb people into my body, that seems pretty good to me. Also, I like that they described Ofta earlier as being like a liquid metal, being that can turn into weapons. It reminds me of the Terminator. Excuse me, from Terminator 2. Ofta says yes. Oh wait, sorry, it doesn't have quotes, so I just say this in narrator speak. Ofta says yes, but that she doesn't know what they are. She explains that the royal family has had a bad habit of changing the history books to remove or hide any trace of their powers. So it's known that they have powers, but any record of what their powers are have been lost, kind of thing. I'm going to say to Ofta in a concerned voice, without knowing what the powers of the royal family are, it would be incredibly dangerous to try and fight them. You think that it is a smart idea for the royal family to hide their abilities. And you think that it might be a good idea for you to hide your abilities as well. You realize that if your enemies aren't aware of what your powers are, that it is harder for your enemies to defeat you. You think back to how you were only able to defeat Hatred Incarnate because he more or less told you his weakness. You decide that it is best keep your powers and weaknesses private. Yeah, so I think it's good to have your characters like learn from like what's happening in the story. Often nods her head in response to what you say. After a few moments, she says, I think I have a plan. She explains that there is an abandoned castle on the northern edge of the kingdom, which was abandoned after it was struck by a series of natural disasters. You aren't sure why Ofda is interested in an abandoned castle. You think that maybe Ofda believes that there might be old records inside of the castle that could reveal the powers of the royal family. Let's see. Often nods her head in agreement. In agreement with what? I actually didn't even say anything to Ofda. I'm gonna hit retract. Ofda gives you a smile and asks, do you like my plan? You think for a moment that Ofda has given you a foolish idea, but you realize that castles do tend to have lots of old records. Ofda grins and says, okay, so let's see what Ofda's going to say. Great, I'll meet you at the abandoned castle north of the city in an hour. Before you can respond, she takes her leave and flies off. You take your leave as well and quickly exit the tavern. Wait, I take my leave as well and quickly exit the tavern? So this whole time we were inside of a tavern? Yeah, I guess it wasn't really established where we were before. Cool. I'm going to think to myself, Ofda can fly, but I actually don't know if I have any mobility-based powers. I wonder if I have any money that I could use for a taxi. Yeah, because all I know how to do so far in this adventure is absorb people into my body, which isn't bad by any means, but it doesn't seem good for, like, traveling anywhere. You reach into your pockets and pick out several copper coins, a few silver coins, and one gold coin, which is the largest coin and is worth quite a bit. You place the coins in your hand and then close it into a fist. You then open your hand and look at your palm. Why would I do that? Like that part is like the weirdest part. Let's see. So I'm gonna close my hands into a fist. I think that's fine. I'm going to attempt to hail a taxi. So I'm going to see if I can get a taxi to take me to the abandoned castle that's north of the city. You see a line of taxis parked alongside the street near where you're standing. You walk up to the first taxi in line and tap on the window. The window slides down to reveal a face of a middle-aged human man with a mustache. I'm going to ask the taxi driver, how much would it cost for you to take me to the abandoned castle just north of here? Dun, 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 dun. The taxi driver says, "Just north of the city. That place is haunted. Why anyone would go there at all is..." He pauses and looks down for a moment. He looks at you, then he looks up at you again and says, I keep getting tongue-tied. My lips feel dry. I feel like I should have drank more water today. "Sorry, I can't take you there, since I'm not allowed to go there myself. You would have to take a carriage to get there." He points to the left and says, "Okay, so taxis aren't allowed to go to the abandoned castle, and also the abandoned castle is haunted, so it seems like there's going to be quite a bit of conflict coming up. They have a carriage over there, your chariot to the castle." The man chuckles to himself after his little joke. You thank him and begin walking towards the carriage that he pointed out to you. Okay. You look for the carriage driver. You see a figure wearing a winter coat sitting on a chair outside of a small wooden hut. You walk up to the person, and before you can say anything, they say, "Hey, do I know you?" You are stunned for a moment. You say, well, I guess I reply, I'm not sure actually. I don't really remember anything about my past. You then ask the carriage driver, "How much would it cost for you to, for you to take me to the castle just north of the city? Specifically the abandoned castle." I might just walk. Like, if everyone's like, "Oh, it's haunted," or whatever, or "Oh, I can't go," excuse me, then I'll just walk to the castle. The driver looks you up and down and says, "You got money, kid?" You take out the handful of coins that you found in your pockets and find a gold coin, which is the largest coin and worth quite a bit. I'm going to say to the carriage driver, "I do have money." You then ask the carriage driver again in a slightly annoyed tone, "How much would it cost for you to take me to the abandoned castle just north of the city?" Yeah, if it costs like a few copper, I'd be down. No, I don't hand him the gold coin, you stupid bitch. The game is... No, why is the game keep saying I hand the gold coin to him? I have a bunch of copper and like silver and shit. I'm not gonna hand him my best like coin. That's why I keep asking him how much it costs. The game is so ready for me to give up like my... Stop trying to hand him my gold coin. Come on, my dude. Stop. Why does the game keep handing him the gold coin? I never say I'm gonna hand him the gold coin, like in my whole thing. Come on. Stop. Fuck you. I'm just not. I'm just not gonna hand him the gold coin. Retry one more time. What? The carriage driver eyes the gold coin in your hand and then looks up at you. He says, I would have to charge you 100 gold coins. It's a lot, but it takes quite a bit to get horses and a carriage to that castle. I'm going to say to the carriage driver, I would never pay a gold coin, a single gold coin, to ride in a carriage to an abandoned castle. You then ask the carriage driver, how far is the castle on foot? I'll just walk. Like, I'll just go there on foot. If the taxi driver can't take me and the carriage guy is trying to charge me an arm and a leg, the man eyes you with frustration and gets up from his chair. He walks over to the carriage and looks into it and then turns back to you. He says, it's about a 5-mile walk in the freezing cold, uphill nearly the whole way. He then adds, 5-mile walk in the freezing cold, uphill nearly the whole way. That does sound pretty bad. I can't even let you have a ride in the carriage for free since I get fired and out of a job. The carriage driver then walks over to the wooden hut, goes inside, and comes back out with a burlap sack. Okay. I'm going to say to the carriage driver, no worries. I'll find a way to the castle. Thank you for your time. I'm going to head to the castle on foot. Yeah. 100 gold coins is super steep. There's a no way. You start walking towards the north as you put your hand in your pocket and find another gold coin. You look at it for a second, and then it hits you that you now have more than 100 gold coins. You are astounded by your sudden riches. You wonder if you have the power to duplicate money. You concentrate on a gold coin in the palm of your hand and attempt to replicate it by force of will. Yeah, that actually sounds kind of crazy. Like, can I just make money? Because if I can just make money, then that's insanely powerful. Nothing happens and you shrug your shoulders. You then think to yourself, I guess this is the only way to do it. You continue your walk up to the abandoned castle. It is a long and tiresome walk. Hold on. So I have more than 100 gold coins, but I have no idea why I have more than 100 gold coins. I'm going to edit out that last part and just have it be like nothing happens and you shrug your shoulders. Let's see. I then am going to think to myself, I wonder if my pockets are magical and if they can duplicate money. You put a gold coin in an empty pocket and then reach inside to see if the gold coin has multiplied. So I'm trying to figure out why I'm rich suddenly. And I'm trying to determine if it's like a power or like some kind of magic item that's causing me to suddenly just have more money. You reach inside your pocket and find nothing but more fabric. You laugh as you have realized that the pockets are not magical. Okay, so the pockets aren't magical. You are perplexed. You think to yourself, so I don't have the power to replicate gold. Well, I guess to clone gold coins. And my pockets can't magically clone gold coins. So how do I suddenly have more than 100 gold coins? Excuse me. Yeah, because figuring out how you're like suddenly rich is pretty important. The game's like, well, you just don't know the answer. So you continue to walk along the road towards the abandoned castle. You look at your map and it shows a fork in the road a few miles ahead. The main road continues north and it would take you much longer to reach the abandoned castle. Okay. So it's trying to suggest that the main road isn't the right path to take. I wonder if when I absorbed Hatred Incarnate, if I also absorbed Hatred Incarnate's super strength, and I'm going to attempt to perform a super jump to leap all the way to the abandoned castle in a single hop. So I'm just going to try to like jump pretty much as hard as I can, like off the ground to the castle. You jump as high as you can and fall back to the ground. You try again, but this time you only jump a few feet off the ground. You're disappointed that you don't have superpowers. Okay, so I can't just like super jump. It was worth a shot, I guess. Okay, so I can't super jump to the castle, and I can't duplicate money, but I do have more than 100 gold coins. I guess the money will help me later, but I'm still curious why I do have that much money. You wonder if maybe the gold coins were given to you by some divine force. You pray. Well, I guess you pray. And then you would say, "Oh, powerful gods, have you bestowed upon me vast riches?" Oh, I didn't put in me. So it just said, "Oh, powerful gods, have you bestowed upon vast riches?" If you bestowed upon me vast riches? Question mark. Nothing happens. You hear a whiny voice say, "What? Do you see me sprout wings and fly? Do you see my bum start to inflate like a squirrel so I can store more nuts inside it?" Your bum? Also, not that voice. Not that. Different whiny voice. What would be a better whiny voice to do? What? Do you see me sprout wings and fly? Do you see my bum start to inflate like a squirrel so I can store more nuts inside it? It's the voice of Ofda once again. Oh wait, Ofda. So then neither of those two voices. Because for Ofda I just do a slightly higher version of my own voice. What? Do you see me sprout wings and fly? Do you see my bum start to inflate like a squirrel so I can store more nuts inside it? Okay. I'm surprised that I was able to catch up with Ofda. You say, Well, I guess you ask Ofda. Can you give me a lift to the castle? I don't know if I can fly or not. The taxis refuse to go to the castle because it is haunted. And the carriage drivers charge an arm and a leg. Oh, and I also still don't know why, like, I also don't know why I'm suddenly rich or whatever. Ofta laughs at you and says, a talking blue monster with holes for a nose, a pink rabbit ears, and dressed in a purple lumpy one-piece jumpsuit approaches us. What? So you don't understand why Ofta keeps saying weird stuff. You also don't know why you are suddenly rich. You look around for the strange figure that Ofta claims is approaching you both. Well, I guess claims is approaching you. A tall, thin humanoid creature with long white hair and dressed in a flowing blue robe stands before you. Off this said a talking blue monster with holes for a nose, pink rabbit ears, and dressed in a purple lumpy one-piece suit approaches. You look at the being, but immediately dismiss them. You are looking for the weird being that Ofta described that has pink rabbit ears. The being is small, standing at only 3 feet in height. The being is also very ugly. It has a huge snout and a mouthful of teeth, with several large fangs. The being has small, beady eyes that are overshadowed by a large, rounded forehead. You look at the small being and immediately dismiss them as well. The being Ofta described didn't have a huge snout, and instead had holes for a nose. Yeah, it had holes for a nose. You continue looking for the being that Ofta described. It's a short figure, standing at only 3 feet in height. Okay. I'm going to ask the strange figure for their name. What? The small figure asks as it looks up at you. What is your name? You ask again. creature looks nervous and says, Rollo Magos. That's my name. What a interesting dialect. I'm going to ask Rollo Magos. I have 2 questions. My first question is, can you give me a ride to the castle north of the city? Yeah, because I'm trying to get the abandoned castle north of the city. What? I don't have a jumpsuit. Rollo Magus looks at you and smiles. Large amounts of saliva drip from its mouth and land on your brand new jumpsuit. Or maybe I do have a jumpsuit. I actually don't know what I'm wearing. So sure, I'm wearing a brand new jumpsuit, whatever. Yes, I could take you to that castle, Rollo Magus says. So I'm going to ask Rollo Magos. Do you have a vehicle that we'll be riding in? Because I kind of already have a map. So I don't think it's a thing where it's like I need you to lead the way. I just want to ride with you. Yes, I have an airship, Rollo Magus says with pride. Great, you say, getting excited. Let's get going. With that, Rollo Magus frowns and shakes his head. We can't go today. Let's see. I'm going to say, well, I don't need a trip to the castle tomorrow, so I guess I won't be riding with you to the castle. Thank you for the offer, though. And then I'm going to ask Rollo Magos. Money suddenly appeared in my pocket earlier, and I was wondering if that is a common occurrence around here. Yeah. Like, if it's not due to me, and it's not due to my power, like, I guess if my powers don't make more money, and my clothes don't make more money, you know, is it this world? Is it a world where suddenly, like, money just appears in your pocket? Ooh, we got an error. So, okay, here we go. Rollo Magus appears to be very surprised by your question. No, that does not happen around here, Rollo Magus says. What kind of money? Ooh, am I locked out? Yeah, even though it continued, it's still like trying to do the reload symbol. I'm gonna just refresh, see if that fixes it. Okay. So I'm going to change the subject and say, oh, never mind then. You thank Rollo Magus for his time, and then ask Ofda to carry you to the castle. You had carried Ofda out of the abandoned home of Rolomagos. You are now outside and heading towards the castle, just as the sun is set. What do you mean, abandoned home of someone? Retry, that's so confusing. As Ofda lifts you from the ground, Rolomagos says, I'll see you in the castle, guys. What do you mean you'll see me in the castle? I thought Rolomagos said we couldn't go today. So what, is he going to meet us at the castle today? In a matter of minutes, you find yourself outside the gates of the abandoned castle. Ofda asks you, so, since when did this place become a hotel? What? Interesting. Also, isn't that the wrong sense? You look at the abandoned castle, and you are surprised to see that it is now a hotel. You say to Ofda, I've heard that the castle is haunted. Maybe the ghosts here have turned it into a hotel. I still don't know why I had money suddenly appear in my pocket. I also don't know why Ofda was saying weird stuff earlier. Before you stands an abandoned castle. The castle is entirely black. Gargoyles sit on the edge of the roof, all of them looking in different directions. The drawbridge is up, preventing you from entering. No light shines through any of the windows. Let's see. You're surprised that such a foreboding, castle has been turned into a hotel. But you guess that makes sense, considering that it is a hotel for ghosts. Ghosts likely would enjoy spending time in a place that scares away the living. You look at the hotel's door and see a sign, ghost only. You can't read the sign, or rather, you can read it just fine, you just don't understand it. It seems to be written in a language that you do not know. What? I can read it, but I don't understand it. But it tells me that it says ghost only. Okay? Sure. I'm gonna look at Ofda and ask her, why were you saying weird stuff earlier? Yeah, Ofda's been kind of an oddball, and I want to figure out what's going on with her. Ofda speaks to you in a language you don't understand. She is shocked when she realizes that you do not know what she is saying. She stops speaking and looks at you. You stare into her eyes for a few moments, before Ofda blinks and says, hold on, am I suddenly having like a weird language discrepancy thing? Where I'm just like misunderstanding what people are saying? Ofda lifts you up onto the ground and says, what do you mean lifts me up onto the ground? The adventure's getting like really weird. Ofda blinks and says, I don't know what came over me. I've never done that before. Do you speak the language of the dead? You shake your head and say, there are no dead people here right now. What? No, we're at like a ghost hotel. Not gonna be an idiot. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to speak the language of the dead. Yeah, because I don't really know what I can and can't do. So I'm going to try and just see if I can. Do, 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 do. Uncertain of what you're doing, you do your best to copy Ofda exactly. You open your mouth and are about to speak when you feel a strange sensation in your throat and a popping sound comes out. A little surprised by the noise, you touch your throat and look down. Okay? I'm going to say, I just tried to speak the language of the dead. But I don't think I know how. Earlier, you said something weird before you were speaking in the language of the dead. I think it was supposed to be a joke. I don't know. How about I just take it as a joke? You decide that whatever weird statement Ofda made earlier, I guess weird statements often made earlier, were simply jokes, and decide to ignore them. You ask Ofda, have you magically acquired any money while on your adventure so far? I suddenly gained a large number of gold coins earlier, and I don't know where they came from. Ofta looks down and frowns deeply. She says, I'm not sure. I don't remember. She takes a few steps back and stares at you. You feel your stomach drop as her eyes widen. Ofta points at you and says, don't take this the wrong way, but... What? Okay, so what's gonna happen? Ofta does say something weird. Ofta pauses for a few seconds and then says, you look like the Emperor. She frowns and says, I think you are the Emperor. I'm sorry we meet under these circumstances. You are shocked to hear what Ofda has said. I'm going to ask Ofda, are you saying that I am the Emperor of the royal family? You don't think that you are the Emperor? Well, hold on. You think back to when you were talking to the carriage driver, and he mentioned that he might have recognized you. You wonder if the carriage driver was recognizing you as the Emperor. That would be kind of weird. Did I reincarnate in a world as the Emperor of said world and just not know it? Often nods and asks, how much do you remember? You think back to your earliest memories in this world and wonder if you should tell Ofta the truth. Finally, you decide to tell her that you are a normal person who has no idea how he got there. I mean, that's true. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I don't know how I got here. I wouldn't say I'm a normal person, though. Yeah, just say that you have no idea how you got here. I'm going to say to Ofda, maybe I have amnesia. I very well could be the Emperor. And maybe that's why I suddenly acquired gold. That would explain. Oh, Are taxes collected magically in this world? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. That actually would be interesting. Often nods and says, "Yes, I was once an accountant in the royal family, so I should be able to confirm your identity. May I see your hand?" You hold out your hand and Ofta grabs it. I didn't know that Ofta had a connection to the royal family as an accountant. Ofta's a sentient weapon, so I would have probably imagined Ofta as being, used as a weapon by the royal family. She looks at it and nods. She says, "You look like the Emperor. You have the same, well, it's the same type of hand. Let me check your ring finger." Ofta gently takes your hand and looks at your ring finger. Okay, so there's some way to identify whether or not someone's a member of the royal family or not. Ofta being an accountant for the royal family kind of kind of explains how she knows so much about the royal family. She turns your hand over, and you feel yourself blushing as she stares at your finger. Finally, she lets go of your hand and says, "It's not the same. The Emperor has a ring on his left ring finger." So I'm going to say to Ofda, maybe I'm not the Emperor, but for whatever reason, I look like the Emperor. And I am somehow magically collecting money. I then am going to ask Ofda, do you think, well, I guess I'm going to ask, does the Emperor have a twin brother who acts as a tax collector? Like, we're still trying to get to the bottom of what on earth is going on. Ofta shakes her head and says, "You are the Emperor. There is no twin brother. You don't resemble the Emperor close enough to be a long-lost sibling." Ofta touches your face and says, "I need to think. Excuse me. How are you going to say I am the Emperor and then say it's not the same and that the Emperor has like a ring on his left finger?" Okay, so you think that Ofda still believes... Yeah, wait, hold on. How are you going to say I am the Emperor, but I don't resemble the Emperor closely enough? Retry. Ofda's been saying really weird stuff. Ofda shakes her head and says, "The Emperor only has one brother, the Crown Prince. But something like this would be way above my pay grade. Let's just go to the army camp and speak to a commanding officer. They will probably have a better idea of what to do." I'm going to say to Ofda, "Wait, we just spent a ton of time trying to get to this abandoned castle to find old records to discover the royal family's powers so that we could take down the royal family. Before we leave, we should find those records. If we do, then we could find out the Emperor's powers. If I have the same powers as the Emperor, then that may prove that I'm the Emperor. So this is actually kind of interesting for multiple reasons. So I may just be missing my like ring that was on my left ring finger or whatever, and that's understandable. I can see that happening, especially if you get amnesia. I feel like losing things comes with the territory. If I am the emperor, then that also may allow us to bring up a democracy, which is kind of the whole plan of this adventure. Because I could just say, no more like monarchy, empire, or whatever. Now we have democracy. You know, excuse me, and that would be the long and short of it. You know, if I'm the emperor and what I say goes, then if I say there's democracy, then there's democracy now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think if we just go in the castle, find the old records, figure out what the emperor's powers are, and confirm whether or not I'm the emperor, if I am the emperor, we pretty much just win. You and Ofda split up to search different parts of the castle. You search through many dusty rooms, but you find nothing. You're about to give up when you nearly trip over a staircase, which is broken off from the rest of the stairs. So, earlier when we were at the castle, it mentioned that like the drawbridge was up, and it also mentioned that like the abandoned castle is now like a hotel for ghosts. It's also relevant to state that I don't know the language of the dead, so I imagine I probably can't understand what ghosts say unless they decide to speak like English instead, or common, whatever the common language is in this world. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to catch myself, to prevent myself from falling on my face. You fail to do this and fall on the broken steps on your face. You break your nose in the process of tripping and feel blood beginning to ooze out of your nostrils. Ofda hears you fall and runs over to you. I'm going to ask Ofda, can you fly up this broken staircase and check to see if the old records are upstairs? Ofda flies up the broken staircase and looks around. She then says, "The records are in the next room, but there seems to be a monster guarding them." Ofda has discovered a large man with a goatee standing next to the records. I'm going to say to Ofda, that monster might be the landlord of this ghost hotel. Or maybe a guardian sent by the royal family to protect the old records. Ofta turns to you and says, "Should we attempt to negotiate with the monster?" You think about this for a moment and then say, "We need those records. Perhaps I should try to reason with the monster." Ofta says, "Be careful. I sense menace emanating from that man." Okay. I'm going to yell up the staircase at the monster. Am I your emperor? You were hoping that if the monster was hired by the royal family, that he'd be able to recognize whether or not you're the emperor. The monster looks at you and says, "If you are my emperor, then why are you climbing up the stairs? Shouldn't you be flying up them like a proper emperor?" Ofda looks at you and whispers, "Maybe this isn't the right guy." You wonder if you have the ability to fly. You attempt to fly up the staircase. Yeah. So, I mean, that sounds like a good enough plan to me. You concentrate and attempt to fly up the staircase. You begin to feel lightheaded, and your body, begins to levitate off the staircase. The monster looks on in awe as Ofda's jaw drops. However, you don't fly up the stairs. Instead, you float down them. You begin rapidly descending down the staircase. Okay, well, crap. I'm going to attempt to focus on traveling up the stairs instead of down the stairs. Yeah, it's interesting to try to fly for the first time, and the thing that goes wrong is that you fly in the wrong direction. You keep trying to levitate up the stairs, but your body continues to rapidly descend them. You feel a rush of adrenaline and panic rush through your body as you scream and flail your arms and legs in an attempt to stop your rapid descent down the staircase. How far up did I go up the stairs? Because the staircase was like broken before and wasn't like connected. And I guess when I yelled up the stairs, I didn't just stay on the bottom floor, but I guess I would have had to have jumped across the gap where the staircase was like broken or whatever, and then climbed up the stairs. But not all the way up, so I guess it's like a really long staircase. And now I'm being like rocketed down at a seemingly dangerous speed. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to turn around in the hopes that you'll suddenly start flying up the stairs instead of down the stairs. So maybe that's how it works. Like, I have the power to fly, but I have the power to fly backwards. So maybe I just need to face opposite the direction I'm trying to fly in. You hit your head on a stair, and the momentum causes you to spin on the staircase. You see Ofda staring at you in horror as she calls out your name. You continue spinning around on the staircase as you descended at a rapid speed. I hit my head on a stair, so I tried to turn around, but I guess I'm levitating. So I like 0G kind of spin around, kind of like how like a gyroscope spins, and then hit my head on a staircase. And now I'm spinning around and falling down the staircase. Oh gosh. Okay, so this seems pretty bad. I'm not in a good position at all. I'm going to call out to the monster. Rescue me, please. I might be the emperor. I can fly like the emperor, clearly. But I've lost my memory. So I don't remember how to fly. Yeah. So there you go. If the monster was truly hired by me, and I've like proven that I can fly like how the emperor flies, and I look like the emperor, and I suddenly get magic taxes or whatever. Oh, goodness. The monster nervously looks over the side of the staircase and says, I'm not getting involved. If the Emperor wants to kill himself, that's his own business. Goodness. Okay. I don't want to kill myself. Goodness. I'm going to call out and say, I don't want to kill myself. Save me. This is, yeah, like, I'm asking you to rescue me, so clearly I'm not trying to do this on purpose. The monster says, well, you should have thought about that before you started flying. If that's what you were doing, maybe your suicide attempt was a stunt. Ofda yells down at the monster, shut up and save my boyfriend. Ofda could also save me. Also, Ofda considers us to be in like a romantic relationship. I'm an amnesiac, Ofda. And maybe the emperor that you wanted to overthrow earlier. So, you know, maybe I wouldn't be a good selection for your boyfriend. The monster responds, how do I know he's your boyfriend? You're holding a giant knife and he's floating down the staircase. You yelled, wait, what the fuck? I wouldn't be yelling down to Ofda. And I sure as fuck wouldn't ask for Ofda to throw a knife to me. Are you insane? But I do think the monster's comment is funny. The monster comments. Let's see. You were surprised that you climbed so far up a broken staircase that you can continue to fall down it at such an alarming rate for so long. How can I like stop flying? I'm going to attempt to grab the handrail of the staircase to stop my descent. Yeah. Also, why is Ofda holding a giant knife? Sounds suspect. You grab the hand railing and manage to briefly stop your descent. As you cling to the railing, you yell at Ofda to hurry up and kill the monster so that you can pull it up, so that it can pull you up to safety. Ofda rushes over to the monster with her knife in hand. No, I don't want her to kill the monster. It's not the monster's fault. And I'm like falling down the staircase. I mean, it kind of is, because I wasn't going to try and fly up the stairs before until the monster brought it up. I'm going to say to the monster, give us the records. We need them to identify whether or not I'm the emperor. You realize you never got an answer from the monster. You look over the side of the staircase and realize that both you and Ofda are now on a floor landing. I'm sorry, I'm so fucking confused. Retry. This adventure has been very wonky, and I don't know why, but it's been one that's been really hard to try and keep coherent. You see the monster pull a book out of her back. No, his back, but that's fine. And throw it down at you. You manage to catch the book, but your momentum causes you to continue rapidly descending down the staircase. Okay, that's kind of funny, to be honest. Also, he pulled a book out of his back, not from behind his back, out of his back. Okay. Uh, you think to yourself, this must be a magic staircase. There is no way that I climbed this high up on a broken staircase. Let's see. Because it's getting, like, ridiculous. It's now like a slapstick gag. But I do think it's funny that, like, you ask for the book while you're, like, clinging, trying not to, like, float down the stairs. And he throws the book at you and you get, like, ragdolled down the stairs. You see another monster at the bottom of the staircase. The second monster looks shocked to see you and then speaks in a foreign language to the other monster standing on the staircase. The monster at the bottom of the staircase looks horrified by whatever the other monster said to him. My goodness. I'm going to ask the second monster to catch me so that you don't fall and hit your head. Also, I'll be right back. The air just kicked in my apartment, and it's cold. I don't want it to be cold. Okay, the second monster backs away in fear and shouts, "Seize him! Don't let him go any further! You are afraid that if you drop the book, you will fall. If you hold on to the book, you will not be able to catch yourself if you fall." What? No, I don't think that if I drop the book that I'll fall. That doesn't make any sense. I'm already falling. Okay. He backs away in fear and shouts, "Seize him." I'm headed toward the second monster. I'm asking you to seize me, if anything. Gosh, this whole world is so, like, topsy-turvy and weird. Maybe the reason why everything is so weird is because in the prompt, I specifically state that I woke up in an unfamiliar world. So maybe that's why everything's odd and doesn't make any sense. How are we doing on time? We got 37 minutes left. 37 minutes of just pure chaos. Okay. You look in the book to figure out what the Emperor's powers are. Because I'm still falling. And this is like a dumb magic staircase or whatever. You turn to the first page and see a table of contents. Look, I just want to figure out what the Emperor's powers are. Don't make me have to read through the table of contents and everything. It's going to be like you find a section called Emperor Powers. What? You see a list of names. Sassy Ray, ZZ, Sunshine Smiles, 1.5, Rolo Magon, which is very similar to Rolo Magus, the guy that we saw earlier, YH, and you see a list of affiliations. Zatkiel Inc. You search the book for a section about the Emperor's powers. You see a section called The Emperor's Powers, How to Develop Yours. You read the section to learn more about the Emperor. We learn that the Emperor's powers and his personality are strongly related, and that the Emperor has only developed his powers in this world since he arrived here. Yeah, but what are his powers? You read carefully to try and figure out what the Emperor's exact powers are. Because I have no idea what his official list of powers are. You read about the Emperor's abilities. You read about the Emperor's abilities are as follows. The ability to give people a bad feeling upon first meeting him. The ability to see through the surface level appearance of anything and anyone he meets and see its true nature. Okay. You wonder why the monster said that I should fly. That I should fly if I am the Emperor. Should be able to fly, I guess, if I am the Emperor. Considering that flight isn't one of the Emperor's powers. Based on what you've read, you don't think that you're the Emperor. You attempt to look at the monster at the bottom of the staircase and decipher their true nature. You look at the monster's true nature and see a vicious, cruel, and bloodthirsty creature. Oh, goodness. Let's see. You are shocked that you were able to see the monster's true nature. You start to believe that maybe you are the Emperor. You ask Ofda, when we met, did you have a bad feeling about me initially? Ofda remembers and says, I did have a bad feeling. Ooh, okay. So I'm going to say to everyone in the room, I have the powers of the Emperor, as stated in these records. I also look like the Emperor, and I magically receive taxes. In other words, I am the Emperor, and I command you two monsters to let Ofda and I leave this ghost hotel at once. Also, I'm tired of fucking falling down this staircase. The monsters ignore you and Ofda. Ofda says, the monster still won't let us leave. You say, maybe I'm not the Emperor after all. Well, what the fuck? No, I'm not going to say that. I have the powers of the Emperor. I look like the Emperor. I magically collect taxes. The monster's just full of shit. Okay. I'm going to attempt to imprison both of the monsters inside of my body. Yeah, if the monsters are somehow preventing us from leaving, then I'm going to just suck them into my body, and they'll be my prisoners, and we won't have to worry about them. You strike a bargain with the monsters and say, if I find your names in the book, I will free you both. Why would I strike a deal like that? I'm going to hit retry on that. That's very weird. You teleport both of the monsters inside of your body and are very surprised when it actually works. Both monsters immediately become emaciated. They both look like living skeletons and moan in pain. You see both of their life forces quickly fading away. My goodness. Okay, I'm going to say to Ofda. Okay. Catch me and fly me out of this castle into the true castle. Well, I guess to the new castle of the royal family. It is time for I, the Emperor, to return and to transform this government into a democracy. That's right. We're still doing that. We're still doing that from the beginning of the episode. I don't know. So far, I don't really like this one. It's so crazy. I'm trying to make it make sense. With your new god powers, you soar above the ground and Ofda carries you. New god powers. I mean, I am a god. That's true. And I could fly earlier. Also true. So I guess I don't see anything wrong with that statement. It's just phrased weirdly. The ghost that was sitting in the corner the entire time takes out a pad and starts to make an official announcement. People of the Empire, your Emperor has returned. So, hold on. There was a ghost there the entire time while we were, like, yelling in the ghost hotel. Who's, like, a reporter? There was, like, a ghost reporter? That's such a, like, random, like, tidbit of information for them to include in the story. Okay. Awesome. So, I'm going to, yeah, let me fast track the story. You and Ofda arrive at the castle of the royal family and enter the throne room. Let's keep it moving because the story has been really slow. Super slow. I think once I was able to absorb Hatred Incarnate really quickly, the story didn't really have like any real direction. But I kind of tried to fix that. I immediately was like, Ofda, I'll just do whatever you want to do. Then when Ofda and I separated, I think that's when the story started to degrade. Because then I had to go on my own in the world and figure out how I was going to get to the castle. And that was fine for the most part. I did get confused with the whole like money thing, and that got explained later by like the magical tax collecting. So that's fine. Ofda said one weird thing when we regrouped. That's also fine because I discounted it as a joke later on. So it got explained. We kept running into weird people, and it kept like trying to say, "You mean this weird person?" I'm like, no, the weird person that like Ofda mentioned. I'm like, this weird person? No. So that was interesting. Like maybe it's not as crazy as I think. Well, I don't know. The ghost hotel thing is kind of stupid. Like when we arrived at like the abandoned castle, we were told it was haunted. So I guess it being a ghost hotel makes sense because all the ghosts are now like living in the different rooms, I guess. The monster guard who protects the old records, I guess was hired by me, question mark? Very confusing. Anyways, you both enter the throne room and see the royal family sitting in their respective seats. The entire royal family consists of 2 adults and a little girl that is standard human height. You and Ofda approach them. Let's see. I'm going to say, I, your emperor, have returned. We were expecting you, says both of the adults in unison. The little girl says, "Make way for the Emperor." A portal opens up, and you and Ofda walk into it. You're transported to a different, dimly lit room. I'm going to say to Ofda, they confirmed it. I am the Emperor. Okay. So that's awesome. So we got the royal family's approval. Your boy is indeed the Emperor. I was the Emperor the whole time, and I didn't know it. I'm very happy for you, replies Ofda. You say, let us see the new empire. A doorway opens up in front of you, and you are able to see your new empire. This empire consists of multiple worlds, large and small. Oh, goodness. I control multiple worlds? That's kind of insane. I'm going to make an announcement to the multiversal empire. I now end the empire, and in its place, I notice we've been capitalizing empire for some reason, and in its place, I provide a democracy. I want the people to control how they want to live. So there we go. I could have added now and forever and made it like a really like big dramatic speech thing. But I don't know. I haven't really been liking this one as much as the other ones. Your announcement is heard by everyone, and everyone seems very happy with the change of government. Some worlds stay under democracy. Some worlds return to their old governments, while other worlds invent new governments never seen before. You give off a high position in the empire's government. It's not an empire anymore. It's a democracy. So I can just give Ofda a high position in the government, I guess. I mean, can I even do that? If I'm not an emperor anymore, Ofda would need to be like elected into like a high position. So I'm gonna get rid of that line entirely. Okay. I'm gonna say to Ofda, we did it. We made the multiverse a democracy. Okay. That's really weird. I didn't expect it to be like a collection of different worlds kind of thing. That was kind of wild. Ofta smiles and says, we sure did. You sit down and bask in the joy of changing the multiverse forever. Okay. Weird. That feels like a stopping point, but we have like 21 minutes left. So I'm going to ask Ofda. So what do we do now? I have no idea, replies Ofda. Let's explore. We are in control of the multiverse. We can go anywhere. Ofda nods his head in agreement. You guys made Ofda a girl. Don't like double back on that. In this continuity, Ofda is female for some reason. Let's see. You and Ofda have fun exploring your new empire and the wonders it contains. It's not an empire anymore. It's a democracy. exploring the multiverse and the wonders it contains. Okay. So if I could explore the entire multiverse, what universe would I want to go to? You attempt to travel. Well, I guess I don't have to attempt, I just can. I'm going to travel to a universe where everyone is a god. Yeah, maybe this episode still has room to like redeem itself, become something interesting. When you arrive, you see that the beings in this world consist of clouds, rocks, water, fire, and more. If you ever tried to hurt one of them, they would simply reform again. They're all watching a battle between two other beings that are fighting each other. You ask the gods watching the battle, who are those two fighting over there? And why are they fighting each other? You go to the God universe, they're out here watching street fights. One of the clouds turns to you and answers, one of them is greed, and the other is gluttony. You think about it for a moment, and then you realize that one of them is made of gold, and the other is green. You imagine that the green one is greed, and that the gold one is gluttony. Wait, no. That doesn't seem right. The green one is gluttony, and the gold one is greed. When you think of greed, you think of money, and when you think of money, you think of gold. You ask the gods, so you all are watching two of the 7 deadly sins fight each other? That's kind of interesting. The cloud that's talking to you begins to censor itself. Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but in a nutshell, yes. It's actually really bizarre. I'm going to ask the cloud, so what happens if one of them wins? Which I think is just like a legitimate question. Like, I have no idea what happens if one of them like defeats the other. The cloud gets a worried look on his face and tries to answer you. I would prefer not to say. Another cloud next to the first says, you should not be meddling in the affairs of gods. I'm going to say to the clouds, only a moment ago, I was the literal emperor of the multiverse. I gave that up to make the multiverse a democracy. That being said, I still hold great power in terms of fame and ability. I can travel the multiverse at will. I am a force to be reckoned with. So far, I have yet to fail at, like, imprisoning someone inside of my body. So, I'm gonna, like, if any of the gods try to step, I feel like I'll get them. I'm not lying. Retry. The game's trying to act like I'm lying to the gods. You add, I will fight any god that gets in my way. Oh my gosh. You bring up your powerful fist and show the gods you mean business. The clouds are frightened by your presence. They begin to disperse. Ooh. One of the clouds says, the game had me, like, go hard for no reason and say that I'll fight these gods. So far, I haven't been in a hard fight. The most painful fight I've been in was a fight with my ability to fly, because I just couldn't. One of the clouds says, we will talk about this. Oh, goodness. They're like, hold on. We'll have a meeting. Come back with the hands. You nod your head and say, all right. You wait a few minutes for the clouds to figure out what to do with you. The clouds eventually decide that you can move along. Oh my gosh. They're like, we don't want no smoke. You can continue through the multiverse. You thank them and continue on your journey through the multiverse. Okay, so the gods watch the 7 deadly sins fight, and they don't really want to talk about what happens if one of the sins happens to win the fight. That was an interesting little, like, drop-in moment. Okay, so what would be, like, another universe that'd be interesting to go to? Because that was one where everyone is a god. You visit a universe where everyone has superpowers. I do think this is kind of like a cool premise for an adventure. You just hop from universe to universe just to see what's there. You look at the inhabitants of this world and you see that they all have strange superpowers. You look for the strongest inhabitant, of this superpowered world. Excuse me. You see a muscular man wearing a red cape and red spandex. He's easily over 2 meters tall, and he has a large S tattooed on his chest. You go up to the man and ask him, are you the strongest being in this world? A red cape and red spandex, over 2 meters tall. I don't know how tall a meter is. He has a large S tattooed on his chest. Is this dude supposed to be like a Superman analog? The man looks at you and says, why do you ask? You point to the S on his chest and ask, is that why you have an S on your chest? He looks down at his chest and answers you. I'm curious to see where this goes. Yes, in this world the most powerful beings have an S on their chest. I am the strongest in terms of raw power. You are glad to have found this man. You think his power will help you conquer this world quickly. No, bad AI. I'm not here to conquer shit. Okay. I'm going to ask the man for his name. You ask him questions about himself, and he tells you all about his life. No, don't, like, skim through it. I want to know what his name is. The man tells you his name is Superman. Oh gosh. How about not? How about he isn't Superman? How about he has an S tattooed on his chest? He's got red spandex and shit, but he's not actually Superman. Just don't make him Superman. Let's try and avoid the trademark if we can. Please. Throw a nigga a bone. Please. Dang it, can you stop calling him Superman? The game is like, he has an S on his chest. Who else is he gonna be? Fuck it. Don't make him Superman. One more time, if he calls him Superman again, I'll just change it. Fuck. Okay, cool. So instead of him being Superman, he'll be like Nam. His name is Nam now. You ask him, are you a god? Oh crap, he called himself Superman twice. Nope, he's Nam. Nam and not Superman. Nam thinks for a moment and answers, I'm not that powerful. While I am stronger than most, I'm not immortal or able to control the weather. If it was Superman, that'd be a really weird statement. I can't control the weather. He probably could if he like used his powers right. Superman's powers have so many different applications because he has like a weird toolkit. A toolbox of all sorts of powers. Okay. I guess I'm gonna ask Nam. Are there any heroes on this earth, well, on this world, that can control the weather? I guess I shouldn't ask heroes. I should ask if there are any beings on this world that can control the weather, who also have a S tattooed on their chest. Because apparently that's what determines if you're like one of the more powerful beings in the world. Nam shakes his head and says, no, there aren't. I'm the only being with an S tattoo on my chest, and I cannot control the weather. Nam takes a step closer to you and asks, why do you want to know? I say to Nam, the way you described controlling the weather made it seem like it was a really powerful ability. So, when I imagine someone with that ability, I imagined that they too would have a S on their chest. If someone became stronger than Nam, would they get an S on their chest? Nam raises an eyebrow and says, you have a good imagination then. I can describe all sorts of things. Nam closes his eyes and starts to breathe slowly. He begins to speak, and his voice sounds far away. Nam's voice says, is he throwing his voice? What's happening? Why does his voice sound far away? He's right in front of me. Is he using his powers? It seems like the story is about to get weirder. Imagine a land of obstacles. You're in a massive maze of twisty little passages, all alike. Nam opens his eyes and says, I just imagined the inside of a giant hedge maze. You ask you ask Nam, do you like to imagine things often in your free time? Like the daydream and shit? I don't think I've ever walked up to someone and said like, well, when you said that, it made me imagine something. And then they're like, imagination. Don't get me started. Check this out. Big maze. He's like, do you see a hedge maze? I saw a hedge maze. Nim shrugs and says, sometimes I have to imagine things in great detail. Like if I want to remember a story or a scene from a movie that I really liked. Nam continues, so Nam's hobby is imagining things? Is that it? He's the most powerful being in the world, and he's like, yeah, I just really like to imagine stuff. Other times, I just like to imagine cool stuff. Nam points to you and says, you have a nice imagination. For example, you thought of me as someone who can control the weather, when in reality, I'm just a really strong guy. Let's see. I guess I'm going to ask Nam. Who on this world has the coolest powers, in your opinion? We got that New Game Plus, where after you make the entire multiverse a democracy, you just travel the multiverse, and you just don't have any goals again. Hatred Incarnate was really easy to defeat. Nam smiles and says, there was a guy who can control lightning, and I saw him turn himself into pure lightning and travel along power lines once. That was really cool to see. Nam thinks for a moment and says, it's really interesting to see a guy who's like the most powerful person on his planet, and he's like, well, yeah, like, I just like to imagine stuff. And he also isn't so conceited that he thinks he has the coolest power. Wait, what? Nam thinks for a moment and says, now that I think about it, he had a tattoo of an S just like me. I wonder if that means anything. You say, ooh, it sounds like he also is one of the strongest beings on this world. You reveal to Nam, I have a being imprisoned inside of me who can steal powers and is strong enough to punch through titanium. Could you beat him in a fight? Okay, so I'm actually kind of getting a little excited at the concept of Nam versus Hatred Incarnate. Nam looks at you for a moment, as if trying to decide if you're joking or not. Then he starts to laugh. Nam laughs so hard he falls down on his back and smacks his hands on the ground. Nam laughs for quite a while, and then he says, oh gosh. It's interesting to see Nam. He's a character. I kind of like him. He's probably one of the coolest characters from this, like, episode. I'm glad you're on my side, and it is good to know that the strongest being on this world is also a funny guy. Hold on. Is he saying that I'm the strongest being? I mean, I guess if I can imprison people who can steal powers, maybe he suddenly is like, I'm stronger than him then, potentially? That would explain why he says, I'm glad you're on my side. Nam sits up and continues to wipe tears from his eyes. He cried. He laughed really hard. Nam composes himself and says, as much fun as it is to laugh with you, I should get back to work. Nam stands up and walks back over to the rock wall he was pushing on before you arrived. Okay? I don't know. Should I just leave Nam to his devices, not mess with him? How much time do I have? There's only like 1 minute left. I'm gonna ask Nam. If I return later, would you be willing to fight the guy I told you about? Yeah, like, I don't know. I want to see Nam fight Hatred Incarnate now. That just sounds really cool. Do 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 do. Nam pushes on the wall and it moves backwards, revealing a hidden passage. Nam says, sure, I'll fight anyone you want me to. Just come back later. You nod your head and say, thanks, Nam. See you later. Okay, How much time do I got like 34 seconds left. So here's what I gotta say. This was kind of like a weird adventure. I don't think I enjoyed this much, like as much as like the last one I did, but I think a sequel to this would be really interesting. Mainly because I would want to see Nam fight Hatred Incarnate. I kind of had a power that kind of made it where Hatred Incarnate didn't matter. He doesn't. This guy is just like, I'm the strongest guy in my world where everyone has superpowers, which means he's pretty strong. So, him versus a guy who can steal powers and is also strong enough to punch through titanium, that's pretty cool. Plus, Nam says he'll fight anybody I want him to fight. Could he fight greed and gluttony? Like the fact that the story ends with me being like able to travel the multiverse and I can go to a world where everyone's a god and I can go to a world where everyone has superpowers. We could really play with this concept. I could be like, Nam, you'll literally fight anybody? I know of a world where everyone's a god. Let's go throw hands. Like seriously, let me just take you to the god universe and you just go crazy. Or like, let's get your feet wet, Nam. You said you'll fight anybody? Fight like this dude who can like steal powers and punch through titanium. I think we should do more with Nam. Let me know if you think we should do more with Nam. I'm sorry that this adventure was kind of weird. I don't know. I thought it was alright, but I think the ending was definitely cool. What do you guys think? Definitely let me know in the comment section below and on our Discord. Also, if you guys have any video ideas, definitely hit me up on Discord, because if I'm down to do your video idea, I'll charge you $7 per hour length of the video. So if you guys, for example, want to see like a sequel to this where we follow Nam as he's guided through the multiverse by the character from this story, who's like the emperor or whatever. I guess no longer the emperor because he made a democracy or whatever. Maybe he's like the president of the multiverse. But we could see Nam be escorted by the president of the multiverse across these different worlds and like fight different like bad guys or just powerful people. If you guys want to see that, let me know on Discord. And if you guys want the video to be like 1 hour, then you pay like $7. 2 hours, pay like $14. 3 hours, $21, etc., etc. And if you guys just want to help support the channel, feel free to hit up our Cash App, link in the description box below. Thank you all so much. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet One Only, logging out, and subscribe because I do AI Dungeon 2 videos every day. Chicken about.